All right, welcome in, everybody. We're back at it with another episode of Dom and Gonz Sports Talk. Hope you all are having a great evening. This is Gonzi. That's Dom over there. And thanks again for joining. We got a lot of things to discuss this week. Dom, why don't you start us off?
Oh, man, we got some craziness going on this week. Kicking off with the fact that 6 NFL players were suspended this week due to gambling. Well, betting, as we should say. One of those being second-year wide receiver Jameson Williams for the Detroit Lions, as well as some other Lions players and 2 players from the Washington Commanders. I don't. The NFL is so weird to me when it comes to these because I'm trying to figure out what exactly were the bets. Now, are they talking like bets as far as they bet on their own games? Do they bet on other games? Like, I know NFL has a strict no gambling policy, but I don't know, man. Like, some were suspended indefinitely, Jameson being one of the ones who were suspended for 6 games. I don't know, guys. I don't know exactly how to like frame these suspensions. Like, it came out of nowhere, honestly.
I don't understand these. These always have been confusing to me about how the NFL works with their punishments for the gambling. We all know what happened with Calvin Ridley. I think it was later exposed that he was betting on scores. Is that true?
I don't know if that was specifically confirmed.
I don't know.
But
I thought I read that somewhere. Maybe that was just a rumor. But he was suspended the whole year. But people like Deshaun Watson, they were able to come back. I don't like how they work, and the lack of detail for these. We really don't know what's going on here. But 6 games for Jameson Williams, that's a lot. That'll hurt the Lions for sure. That's a month and a half of the football season. That's all of September and half of October. So he won't return until the 3rd week of October. So that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Quintez Cephas. Is that another Lions player?
That is a Washington Commanders player.
Oh, he's on the Commanders. Okay, because Cephas, he used to be a Lion.
Oh, no, yes. So he's on the Lions. Quintez Cephas on the Lions. C.J. Moore is on the Lions. And Shaka Tony, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, was on the Commanders.
God. Yeah. So all these people, 4 or 3 Lions players.
Yeah. About 3 to 4
I don't know
Lions
what they're doing in their background there, but I don't know.
I don't know, man. It's just like, why take the risk? Especially as a young receiver like Jameson who missed a lot of play due to injury. The Lions were a Cinderella story last year. They didn't make the playoffs, but shoot, they could have, and they knocked the Packers out of the playoffs last year in the final game of the season. Like, why take that risk?
I don't know.
Second year.
I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but Lions got a lot of expectations this year, coming off a season where they not only knocked them out of the playoffs, but they swept Green Bay for the first time in I don't even know how long. That was crazy. I mean, think of the Detroit Lions sweeping Aaron Rodgers. An Aaron Rodgers-led team is unheard of, in my opinion. So, that's big.
No, absolutely. I don't know exactly where they get these ideas from to do this stuff. I mean, especially I feel like after the Calvin Ridley stuff, you'd be like extra like cautious of your actions, seeing as how he missed a whole year of action last year. But I mean, again, going back to the Deshaun Watson thing, I mean, the NFL, I don't know exactly who's handling these punishments, how exactly they are putting into play, but I feel there has to be a bigger discussion as far as what exactly is like the main cause for pause when it comes to not playing due to you doing something outside of football. Because Deshaun missed 11 games last year. Yeah, due to his lawsuit. Mind you, I'm all about innocent until proven guilty. I get that. There were multiple allegations made against Deshaun. He comes back at the end of the season, does what he does. Fair enough. But I don't know. I mean, you suspending guys for a whole year for the gambling stuff, but Deshaun was able to play the last couple of games of the season last year. So we got to
Yeah.
make this make sense. Where's what exactly is the reasoning? I would love an explanation. Like, we'll never get it, but I would love an explanation as to like why the punishments differ like that, because I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, and that's something we'll never know unless the NFL outright discloses it. So all we can do is assume at this point.
At this point, yeah,
Yeah.
that's all we can do.
Another thing I wanted to talk about, Jalen Hurts. He got his big payday, I believe it was last weekend, or was it Monday? I can't remember.
I think it was at the top of the week. Top
Yeah.
of the week, he signed the contract, major
Yeah.
extension, 5 years.
And breaking that contract down, I believe, obviously the Eagles got their quarterback. But I was looking on Twitter this week. Sarah Ellison tweeted something about Hurts' contract lining up with Lamar's, rumored deal that the Ravens offered him back in September. And boy, there was a lot of similarities there. And, I overall thought there were a lot of things that were better with Lamar's deal than Hurts' deal. So does this help us out? I think it does. But again, we haven't heard any more news about, the negotiation process with Lamar after that. So I'm not sure. I know I'm pulling up the tweet right here. While I'm doing that, what do you think about that, Dom?
I feel as though this kind of hurts Lamar a little bit. It does help the Ravens in a way. I don't really know. Again, it's hard to explain only because we don't know Lamar's frustration with the contract negotiations. Now, as far as is it the term of the contract? I mean, Jalen Hurts got 5 years. There was reports that they were offering Lamar 3 years.
That's
I mean,
true.
so we don't really know. Now, Jalen Hurts, he's locked in for a while, at least. I don't know how old he is right now, but he's locked in until he's almost 30.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and he has a no trade clause in his contract. So, at this point, he can dictate. Not saying he will in the future. I don't know how the Eagles are going to handle him from here, but he can dictate where he wants to go.
Mm-hmm.
They can't just trade him. So, I mean,
yeah, the no trade clause is big.
Yeah, it's huge. So from there, it's like, what exactly? You see this contract, and we see that Jalen Hurts is now the highest paid QB in the league. Like, in Lamar's contract wasn't going to differ from that. This is raising the question: was it the term, or was there something in the contract Lamar didn't like? Because he's his own agent, he's representing himself. Like, it's not like he's having someone read over these things. He's the one doing it. He's the one doing the negotiating. So, but as far as that, does it hurt Lamar? I mean, I feel like it does.
I think it does for sure.
Yeah.
And I think this benefits Baltimore definitely when trying to finish this off. Like, I have some of the stats here. The total value goes to Jalen Hurts only by $5 million, though. That is Jalen Hurts going $255 million versus Lamar's going for $250 million. So not a big difference there. But then we get into the guarantees. So we have the guaranteed at signing for Jalen Hurts was $110 million, and Lamar's, as we know, was $133. So that was that's about $23 more million. Pretty good. And then we get to the total guarantees. Jalen Hurts got about $180 million versus Lamar's $200K, or not $200K, $200 million. So that's a pretty big gap. I mean, that was a pretty good deal for Lamar. So now we've had this conversation before. Maybe at the time he was not ready to accept that because it was something more than money. Because I still feel like there's something more than money going on because all this stuff coming out about wanting these wide receivers, turning down the deal. It just makes sense for it to not be about money. Because it wouldn't take this long, I think, if it was just strictly about the money. I really don't think so. Because Baltimore never really had this issue signing players long-term until now. Maybe you could correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I can't remember the last time we got into a contract dispute about somebody.
It's been a while. It has been a while.
Yeah.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but
yeah.
I mean, I agree. I mean, it has to be something bigger than the money because why you see all the changes the Ravens are making from coaching staff to acquirements and free agency, who to resign, like, and there's still yet to be a deal done. It's almost May.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost May. Like, May is right around the corner.
And
And
definitely when he confirmed that too, we also were confirmed that Lamar did request that the Ravens try to get D-Hop and Beckham Jr., but it wasn't going to be the make or break whether he stays.
right.
We did find confirmation of that. So that's also something. And as you know, we already have one of those two. So if we can go ahead and try to get Hopkins, well, is it a done deal for him?
And see, that's the thing. Like, is it because what does acquiring D Hop? Because mind you, we're gonna have to. What assets will we have to give up?
Yeah.
Like, you're not giving that up unless you know for certain that Lamar is going to sign on the dotted line as soon as D Hop gets into the building. Like that's not a deal unless you know you are making it for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, like, I didn't really believe the ultimatum to begin with. I didn't think Lamar was really capable of making that ultimatum. He doesn't really seem like that kind of guy to be like, hey, if you don't get these guys, then I'm not playing next year. But like, I understand him wanting receiver help. Like, obviously we haven't had it in years. So the fact of wanting a star receiver and wide receiver one isn't really an issue for me because, like, you need weapons in this league to succeed. I mean, we've seen that time and time and again. We've seen it with Josh Allen. We see it with Joe Burrow. Like, we've seen it with Pat Mahomes. Like, you need that target to be able to go out there and get you something. And OBJ can do that. But as far as getting both of them, that's going to be difficult. Now, I would be all for it, but I'm not all for it unless I know Lamar is going to be back, not just next year, but the years after that. Because the Ravens are proving that we're willing to do whatever it takes to keep you here because we want you here.
Now, I was also watching videos this week. I was watching one of my favorite YouTubers online, Engraved Vids. He's really good for Ravens News, and he touched on something that spoke to me a lot. The Ravens are going out of character this year by signing, a bigger name in free agency at the wide receiver position, obviously going to be OBJ. And they're strongly considering DeAndre Hopkins. But the big difference maker this year than previous years is there's no almost. They actually went out and they got somebody. They did. And because previously we've had so many almost times. Oh, the Ravens almost got this guy. Back in 2020, they almost got DeAndre Hopkins. You remember that?
Yeah, I do remember.
You just wonder all these things that Lamar's doing with the Ravens. When he said, "Oh, go ahead and try to get me these two guys, OBJ and D-Hop." I wonder if he's trying to shift the Ravens' thinking or philosophy of things, because that's not the Ravens' way, at least for the past 10 years, going out and signing these big names. So I wonder if he's holding out or something, trying to change the way the Ravens think about handling these situations. And I'm fully down for that because this is something that should have been done a long time ago. This, wide receiver by committee has not worked. It's not good enough. We need to go out and get established players. And yeah, we've got the draft. Yeah. We've gotten a few good production from players from the draft, but let's go out and get an established veteran. And I'm hoping Lamar's shifting the Ravens' focus, or at least maybe if he's not directly doing it, the Ravens are realizing that this is an option we need to take. And that really spoke with me because if the Ravens were to shift philosophy about how we attack this position, that could be really good in the long run. Whoever plays quarterback in the future, because we need guys that can make plays, that can bail your quarterback out a little bit. That's not named Mark Andrews, because there's times you're just not going to be able to make every good throw or throw it right on the money, right in the breadbasket. You're going to need a wide receiver to bail you out in a way, make a catch in double coverage, make a catch with a guy on their back, make a one-hander, just make an incredible play.
I agree.
And you can't do that when you lack experience at the wide receiver position. So I'm all game for the Ravens trying to shift their philosophy for things, especially in the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, but is this a sign of desperation? Like you said before, this is a moment. These are things the Ravens have never done. We never went out there and got a big name. So is this a sign of desperation saying, bro, we might be just this close to losing Lamar if we don't make a move quickly?
Is it
So
desperation or is it a philosophy change?
these
I'm
that's
hoping.
the
I'm
question.
hoping it's more. I mean, I'd be fine if it was both, because if Lamar were to go and then they just go back to their own ways, it wouldn't mean anything. This is something they need to do forever, because even if Lamar does sign a big contract, he's not going to be here forever.
He's not. You're
We need
right.
to make sure we use this kind of thinking in the long run, okay? Because at this moment we cannot in-house develop top-tier wide receivers. It's just a fact. So we need to go
Yeah,
out
I
and get our
mean,
one. Some teams like Pittsburgh has done a good job, and I hate to say it, but they've done a good job of building up their young wide receivers into superstars. People like Hines Ward, a Steeler for life. Even the more recent ones, Antonio Brown, even though he was a head case, he was really good back in the day.
no, he was great. He's definitely all-time great.
All these
There's no
guys,
doubt about it.
the Steelers know how to find wide receivers and develop in-house.
They
Baltimore
do.
doesn't. So they need to go out and buy a big name receiver, and that's how their philosophy needs to shift as we, continue through the years, until they can demonstrate and prove to us that they don't need to do that.
I
But
agree. But is this more
so you can't do that right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so yeah, but I mean, like you said, Steelers are developing these guys in house. Is it us not being able to draft? Is it the coaches not being able to do good at
Right.
developing? These are the questions. Like, is it how internal is this going to get? Because I mean, like you said, the passing game for the past couple of years has not been that great. I mean, our receivers. I mean, can we blame our receivers? Should we blame the coaching staff? Like, there has to be hands. This is an all hands in kind of
Well,
thing.
we'll know.
Like we,
I think we'll know. Not to cut you off, but you're speaking. Everything you're saying is correct. If we go ahead and get D-Hop and we have a stacked wide receiver room and there's still lack of production, then it's something with the coaching staff, because we know what these guys are capable of. If there's no production, or if it continues to be the same lackluster production for the offense in the passing game, we'll know it's a coaching thing.
right,
For sure. So
right.
this is big. This is a big year.
It is a huge year because like the Ravens completely revamped that staff.
Yeah.
From linebackers to running backs to quarterbacks coach to strength and conditioning coach, all these positions have been revamped and they have been switched out. So now we're looking at things like, okay, now that things are different, now that we have a new staff, new way of doing things, is this going to change the dynamic of the pass game? Because we're looking at it like, oh man, these guys can't catch anything. These guys aren't getting any better. But like, we can look at them, but if they're not getting set up for success, what exactly can they do? You know what I mean? Like, they have to, like, they're sitting here with a blank canvas. Okay, now that the old coaching staffs are out, they're sitting here with a blank canvas, and they can now put in a new body of work to see what they can do. Like, this is the year. If this is all depending on Lamar comes back, but this is the year that they can go out there and show us what they can do. Like, blank slate. You know what I mean? Like, this is it. So I just want to see what these guys are capable of, because we can point the blame at them all we want. Like, because we're seeing it from a fan perspective and we're looking at it through the TV, we're like, oh my goodness. But like, the right plays, like the play calling, setting your guys up for success, getting them in their spots to where they can catch, where they excel at the most. I feel like that's important. And, if they're not doing that, then, like, this is a waste of our time. It's a waste of their time being out there on the field. They're not being put in the best position to be their best selves,
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, this is their moment. This is the year. Now, hopefully they get their new coaches will set them up for that. So we'll see.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's see. Let's see if they go ahead and get him first.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all depending. This with the draft so close, it's very like, if that trade were to happen, if that trade doesn't happen at draft day, I don't think it happens. Honestly. Like, this is my opinion. If that trade doesn't happen on draft day, I don't think it happens, because D Hop has been the rumors for D Hop have been for a while now, and we have been like speculating where he could go. I mean, obviously, there's the Chiefs and the Bills, and Von Miller loves to recruit,
Mm-hmm.
but like if that doesn't happen on draft day, because we know the Ravens like to make splashes on draft day, like I don't see it happening after that. I don't know about you. I don't know how you feel about it, but if that trade doesn't happen day one of draft day, I don't see it, man.
I don't know how likely it's going to be, but we did get a small update this week about the Baltimore being linked to DeAndre Hopkins on the Pat McAfee show. I believe Pac-Man Jones was on there, and he said it was a strong possibility that the Ravens were going to get him. So something's still brewing with these two. So whether that happens sooner rather than later, I don't know. But I'm still going to hold out a little bit of hope that something may get done. But at the same time, it would not surprise me if it doesn't get done because, I just know how this team works. I'm thinking they might be like, oh, we got OBJ. All right, we're done. No more.
Yeah,
we're saving our money. But
yeah, I can see that too.
yeah, I hope I'm wrong. I'm wrong again. Like I was with Odell. I thought there was no chance of getting him. But here they go. They got him. So, yeah, prove me wrong again. I'll leave the door cracked that they still can get him. But if you had to sit down and say, hey, Gonz, are the Ravens going to get D-Hop? No. Unfortunately. I just don't have enough. And you can keep hearing all these reports too. And, yeah, that's exciting. But I just don't see it. Until it actually happens, prove me wrong, Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because of what DeCosta said in a presser. I forgot which presser he said, but he said he's trying to acquire. They only have 5 picks this year in this year's draft. I don't think they have any seconds. That estimation,
Right.
I don't think we have any second picks because of Roquan. So at that point, there he did say he wanted to acquire more picks. Now, obviously, how to do that? We're gonna have to move something. Someone I honestly hope is not who we both have been discussing this week. Our linebacker Patrick Queen. There are speculations Ravens couldn't move on. I would like to not see Patrick Queen get moved. I feel as though we need another. I want to see Queen in his 5th year. I believe this is his 5th year, or no? Because I think a while ago we said 3 years ago. We drafted him in 2020.
2020. So
yeah. So he still has a little bit more time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't want to see Queen moved. I feel as though that he could really be a force to be reckoned with, especially with a full year with Roquan. Those two side by side, they're probably one of the best, if not the best linebacker duos in the league. Definitely a top 5 linebacker duo in the league once they get that chemistry built. I don't think we should move them now. And like obviously DeCosta said he'll see. Obviously this draft is up in the air with what we could get. Like he even talked about getting a quarterback in case Lamar doesn't come back. So, I mean, what we do with that first round pick is crucial. But as far as acquiring more, I mean, what do you think? Do you think we should move on from Queen?
I mean, well, let me answer your first question first about acquiring more picks. Again, back to the philosophical standpoint, having a lot of draft picks has always been the Ravens' way. Like acquiring as many draft picks, there's conditional picks and all that other stuff that I don't even understand completely. But the Ravens always wanted to have a lot. Now, there's nothing wrong with changing it up. I really don't mind it. Like, yeah, we have 5 this year. Fine. That's cool. I'd be willing to sacrifice more to get somebody like D-Hop. I know we've been saying it all the time, but let's do a little bit different. Do things a little bit differently. Because obviously the way we've been going on about it has not worked. 1 playoff win in the past, I don't know, 6 seasons, right?
Yeah.
We have not got 1 win, and that was against Tennessee in 2020. It's not working. So no, I really don't think it's a necessity to get more picks. Let's just use what we have and dish people out and try to acquire the best players that we can through, trades or free agency. Because, the draft hasn't panned out for some positions on offense. Obviously, defensively, we've done much better. But, again, that's the Ravens' way. They've always had a knack for drafting stars on defense, dating all the way back to Ray Lewis and all them guys, Peter Boulware, all the, all those old time linebackers, and defenders. So it's like, it's fine with me. You don't need to acquire more picks this year. Let's change. There's nothing wrong with changing it up. And to answer the second part about should we deal Queen, does Arizona need linebackers? Because I'll be honest, yes, I did enjoy Queen's play, and we're going to talk about Patrick Queen and a lot more defensive stuff in just a moment. I did enjoy Queen's second half of the season. He did step up, but I would say to sacrifice him to get somebody like Hopkins, I would be down for it. Just like I said for Duvernay. Remember that conversation from episodes back? I love the guys, like especially Duvernay. But yeah, if Patrick Queen is shipped off for a bigger reward, it would be fine with me. I would not now. However, I would not be okay with just shipping him off for a draft pick.
Okay.
It's got to be a big reward, right? It's got to be part of a deal, okay, to get somebody good. I would rather not just ship him off for a second round pick or whatever. I don't think that's worth it. Because we don't have too much depth at linebacker behind Roquan and Queen, so we kind of need those guys right now. So yeah, to summarize everything I said, I would deal him if the price was right.
Okay.
I wouldn't just ship him off just to ship him off.
Okay, I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess I'm sentimental at heart. I can't really say I mean, as much as because how much I've seen Queen grow. Obviously, he's had his downs, he's had his ups, drops, and missed tackles. I mean, what defensive player hasn't? But I just feel like we need to see. It would be nice to see him and Roquan continue to build that chemistry together. Because, again, them being together and Roquan teaching Queen and even Queen probably rubbing off a little bit on Roquan. Those two could be a force, especially as coverage linebackers. It's insane what they could be capable of. If the package is right, do I feel like we should deal them? I mean, like you said before, it just depends on what we would get back. I don't think just a regular draft pick would do as far as Patrick Queen if we were to deal him.
It's got to be a player.
It would have to be a player involved. I agree. I wouldn't want to see him go just for a pick, especially with the Costas philosophy of trying to get more picks. I wouldn't want to see that, especially not on draft day. I mean, the defense as a whole has just been, we have a lot of reliable pieces on the defense that would be crucial in trade. Obviously, I don't want to see any of them go because they played really well, especially when Roquan got there. They played, I feel like, really well at the later half of the season. So it would be nice, especially now that Chuck Clark is gone and Kyle Hamilton will be coming in, kind of getting more into his role. I mean, he was the highest graded safety last year. So seeing him have another resurgence, have him playing more, getting out there more, that would be nice. I mean, I feel like we had a top This is why I kind of get upset every time we talk about the defense, because like I said before, I've said it before and I'll say it again. With that defense, and if Lamar was healthy, even with the offense we had, I don't think a lot of teams could have beat us in the playoffs last year. And I'll continue to say it. I honestly feel like it. Looking at how these teams performed, especially with the injuries that they had, I don't really see us losing in the playoffs. Now, the Bengals obviously would have gave us a run for our money if we would have had to see him again. But, I mean, we did see him again. But you know what I mean? I just – with Lamar there, I don't see us losing that. But that's another conversation for another day. As far as that, though, getting back to the defense, we have a lot of pieces that mesh well together. We still have to see what David Ojabo and Odafe Owe look like. I know you have your revelations about Owe. We haven't really seen him reach his full potential. Do you feel like Ojabo will help him get to that, especially with him being healthy this year?
I hope so. And we'll see what happens. I hope that you're right. I hope he can rise back into form. But you've been talking a lot of defense now, and that's great because that reminded me I wanted to talk about the defense a little bit. We've been talking so much offense, wide receivers, OBJ, D. Hopkins, Lamar Jackson. We haven't really sat down and discussed how the 2022 Baltimore Ravens defense has played and fared last year. So let's go ahead and give them some love, right?
No, they deserve it. All credit in the world. They played amazing last year, especially in the later half of that year, against some great offenses. Like, we have to give the credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
Secondary showed up. I mean, pass rush, I feel like that still needs to get a little better. I don't know if you agree, but I feel like we still have to get there with Calais being gone. Don't know if Justin Houston is coming back. I don't know if that's the thing. I don't think he signed like a 1 year before, so I don't know if he's coming back.
That's fine. Turn the young ones loose. All right. So let me go ahead and give a quick recap of what happened over the season. Let's take a stroll down memory lane. So yeah, week 1, that was pretty dominant performance against Joe Flacco and the Jets. But as for the rest of the beginning of the year, very shaky, very shaky. Those fourth quarter collapse were just horrible to watch. Oh my gosh. Miami struggled bad on defense in the second half. What's it called? Week 3, even against Mac Jones and the Patriots, they were struggling. It was just they did get some turnovers, but the yardage in the fourth quarters, like, it was just terrible. This team struggled with finishing games early in the beginning of the year. So while the defense wasn't abysmal, it was abysmal in the fourth quarter. So that is my summary. Just constant, just blown leads, like 10-point leads where we need the defense to go ahead and get a stop, and they just weren't able to ever. And that was just so frustrating because we could have had an undefeated start to the year. But instead we were more like 3-3 or 3-2 or 4-3 or whatever.
Yeah, we were losing the teams that we had a huge lead on.
It was just disappointing to know because it's just like, oh, they're going to score. If the Ravens have to take their 3 or whatever, and the defense is on the field for the last 2 minutes of the game, you just know it's going to be. They're going to score. You just knew it. Just knew it. Oh my gosh, a great example of that back in week 2 when the Ravens took that field goal to go up by 3 in the the waning moments of the game, 38-35, and the Dolphins were going to get the ball back. You just knew they were going to go down and score. You just knew. Unfortunately, you just knew it, and that sucked. But that's defense was not very good at closing games, and then we hit the bye week, and things flipped a little bit. The script flipped. Obviously, bringing in Roquan was sensational for this defense. Just much better play from linebackers. Roquan Smith, a takeaway in like one of his first or second games with us. That Pittsburgh Steelers game, he got a nice interception. But the defense started to just knuckle down and, hold people when they needed to.
We needed it, yep.
The offense seemed to falter. They were scoring at least 20 points a game through the first half of the year, and then sort of flipped the script where the offense became a liability and the defense had to be the one to carry us. Starting with that Panthers game, I believe that was week 10. Coming out of the bye, Panthers were really bad at the time, like 3-8 or I don't know, but some really bad record. And the Ravens offense struggled. They won that game 13-3. The defense carried that game. I believe the last really nice performance we saw on offense from Baltimore was that Monday Night Football game against the Saints. They went to sleep. After that, the rest of the year was bad. But let me not talk about offense. This is a defensive conversation. But yeah, the defense balled out. It really did for the second half of the year, all the way through the playoffs, I thought. I believe the only blown lead time where they coughed up the lead in the final minute was against the Steelers on Sunday night, the second matchup.
Oh, yeah. When Najee caught that.
Oh, sorry. The Jacksonville game was back to their old ways.
It was.
But
we gave that one up.
The defense was pretty solid. I mean, not terrible. And then get to the playoff game, they forced some turnovers, and they were, holding it down against Joe Burrow and that Bengals offense. I mean, the only reason the Bengals won that is because the
Because
offense.
of that daggone fumble.
I mean, they holding the Cincinnati. If you came out and told me you're going to hold the Cincinnati Bengals to 17 points, I mean, you should win. Or
that should have been a win.
Holding an NFL team to anything under 20 points with a Lamar Jackson-led offense, you would say, "Oh, we're going to be undefeated," because we didn't give up that many points in the second half of the season.
Not that many, no.
Pretty low. I mean, shoot, we even won a game 9-10. That was the game we went to. 9-10. The defense held 9
against the Russell Wilson-led Broncos. Yes, I remember that one. Oh my goodness.
The defense did its thing. It really did.
It held it down when it needed to.
So all those fourth quarter chokes were a thing of the past, and you could trust this defense for the most part, even though they did have some shaky moments. But they were very reliable at the end. Now you complement that with a great offense, this team would have been really something to reckon with.
And that's what I wanted to bring up too.
Right. And talking about the positions, the secondary was pretty good. It held it down for the most part. Obviously, abysmal in the first half of the season, but the whole unit seemed to collect itself by the bye week, and everybody just seemed more in sync. The team was forcing lots of takeaways, and they were just playing pretty good as a group. Pass rush, it was okay.
Improvement.
I feel like more of the sacks came from the coverage, especially towards the end of the year. There's not a lot of showing from the edge rushers. I mean, Tyus Browser came back and did his thing, pretty good.
Great to have him back.
Good, coming off injury. But Ajabo was hurt the whole year. He came in and he had a couple minutes playing time starting with that Browns game. He did get a sack on Joe Burrow.
He got that strip sack. Yeah, he got that strip sack on Burrow.
Yeah, that was nice. I'd love to see more of that. But, we need a little bit more production from the edge rushers. And I feel like I say that all the time. But
I mean, you're saying it because it's true. I mean, like, we haven't really seen it. Like, we haven't seen that constant pressure from the pass, like, from the edge.
And, like we're used to. I mean, I know we're obviously not going to have Terrell Suggs there, blasting off the line of scrimmage like he used to. But, so we need a little bit more production from our young guys, Ojabo and Owe. Owe had a down year, as we already stated. Turn them loose. Let's see what they got. Last thing before I let you talk, let you give your take on this. The run D. The run D was interesting. It was pretty good. It was very good some days, but some games it was just, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Which is not what you're used to with Ravens. Usually you can always count on them stopping the run, but there were a couple games, and I can give you two examples, where we just could not stop the run at all. First one being the Christmas Eve game against Atlanta. We won that game, but Cordero Patterson tore us up.
He was having a day.
Their backup, Al-Shear, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Al-Shear. I don't know. I don't know his first name. That's his last name. But that duo just dominated us. Yeah. Absolutely shredded us on the ground. We were kind of lucky to come away with that because they destroyed us. I think they rushed for almost 200. It was something crazy. And then the Steelers game, the one in Baltimore, Najee Harris over 100, tore us up. That was tough to see because the Steelers are not a good team running the ball. I don't care what you say. That was really heartbreaking to see. But, they cleaned it up. The run D wasn't terrible. They just had some holes, a little bit more holes than we're used to when it comes down to that.
Yeah.
But pretty good. How would you think they did? What kind of weaknesses and strengths do you think that we have?
Yeah, I feel as though the defense, as far as defense is concerned, I feel as though we're in agreement when it comes to pass rush. Like, I feel like that's our main weakness. I know you remember the game against the Bengals where it was one play where Burrow was in the pocket, he dropped back, and he was just dancing all over the place on us. Like, we couldn't lay a hand on this man because he was like we got to be better because we can't make the play. Like literally, he's just dancing all over us, and we can't stop him to save our life. I think he rushed. I think he I don't know if I forgot if he threw that or rushed forward for more yards to gain, but like that has to be a fix. As far as the secondary, I feel like the secondary played pretty well. Marlon Humphrey was probably the highlight of the secondary. He just he allowed no touchdowns all year. Like you have to give credit where credit is due. Definitely one of the top corners last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like he came up, he showed up. So I have all the respect in the world for him. Marcus Williams, obviously, he had picks in the first. He had picks. I think he had a pick in the first game. Like he was just improving. Unfortunately, he went down, which hurt us a little bit safety wise. But having him for a full year would be great. Marcus Peters is still a question mark. Obviously, we don't know if we're going to get him back. I would love to have him back for another year if he were to come back. But obviously, that's a money thing, of course. Kyle Hamilton, we've discussed him briefly. We know what he's capable of. We know that he got better as the games progressed. He forced turnovers, got great tackles, great in coverage. I think he's going to be great this year. His year 2 is going to be something to marvel. But yeah, I mean, I feel as though the secondary, we're going to be okay. Obviously, we're probably, knowing the Ravens, we will draft corner this year. No doubt about it. I mean, we love corners. So I know you have your fix for Joey Porter. I know you want him on the lineup badly. But yeah, I mean, as far as our strength and weaknesses, I mean, I feel like our secondary is great. It's just that the pass rush is something that we need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, until we can work on that, then we're gonna keep getting danced around. Now we got a new linebackers coach who I'm sure is working with Ojabo, who's working with Owe to get better. We'll see how that improvement goes. I would love to see Ojabo continue to get the sacks like he got on Burrow last year. I would love to see Owe prove all the haters wrong. I need him to do that because when was he a second round pick, first round pick? I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head. But
yeah, he was the first.
Yeah, he was the first. So yeah, so this is the guy that we had a lot. This is the guy that we saw and was like, this guy has the potential to be great. So let's see that. Like, let's see you be great because I know you can do it. It's just a matter of can you do it. And our defensive coach, like I think he proved a lot in year 1. Like I mean, I'm sure our fans will agree, but he did a lot year 1. Like to come into a defense that can only get better from here. Like he showed out in year 1. Now year 2 is going to be, I feel like the pressure is going to be on him a little more to produce, to scheme better a little bit more this year because, especially if we get young picks, if we get young players to come into the secondary, if, with the linebackers coach coming in, it's going to be a little more pressure on McDonald to go out there and produce a defense that can get stops and not give up, leads like we have been in the past last year. Like there's going to be some pressure on him. There's going to be some pressure on the edge rushers to get better. With Calais gone, that leaves a gap. I mean, he was productive, especially he was that veteran presence in that defensive locker, and that defensive side to keep the guys going. It sucks that he is gone. I hated to see it, but I wish him the best in his next team. But yeah, we just have to see what they're capable of this year. I mean, like you said, we got to let the young lions loose, see what they can do, unleash them. We'll see. But yeah, I feel as though when it comes to a weakness, that is our biggest weakness, is not getting to the quarterback. We have not proven that we can do that on a consistent basis. And that's just something we have to work on. And I hope that, it's a point of emphasis, especially getting back into training camps this year.
Yeah, I would agree. I really like Mike McDonald. I enjoyed how he called, the second half of some of these games. I feel like most of it was just player execution, which was the issue at the beginning of the year. I don't feel like it was more, coaching. Yeah. I feel like the better thing between him and our old coordinator, Wink Martindale had to deal with a lot of injuries in 2021. and we had to deal with hardly anybody in the secondary. I think one time we had to pull out everybody off the street, and he still was sending cover zero. And I'm just like, I feel like Wink Martindale's situational play calling was what was lacking.
Yeah.
It's you can't blitz when you don't have anybody to cover. I'm sorry, you just can't send. Now you can send a blitz, but you can't send cover zero, which leaves people on islands with some of the best wide receivers in the league, like the Bengals. That's when Burrow put up that 500 yards on us.
Yeah, that was bad.
You can't do that. You can't just send
bad.
instant pressure. You need to scheme up the pressure. And I thought that Mike McDonald did a nice job with that. A lot of zone blitzes. One of the only things that I noticed a couple times, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I was just being a paranoid Ravens fan at like in the moment of these fourth quarter games. Sometimes I feel like we would back off too much, especially in the Tampa Bay game, where I don't know if you remember specifics, but Tom Brady was able to just check it down and get 10 yards and get out of bounds each time. Like, can you put a hard flat there or something? Or put somebody to just cover the flats a little bit? Like, I don't care if you're dinking and dunking or if they're getting good plays, but make them work for it at least.
Yeah, I mean,
don't just play prevent defense when you go up by 10 and there's 11 minutes left in the game, right? Like keep the pedal to the metal and keep going after them. Don't just let them pick you apart with drag routes and flats and baby underneath routes. Like, make them earn it, right?
You gotta make them get after it. Absolutely, I agree.
Noticed that a couple times during the season?
I do. Like, I mean, I feel as though like a lot of people, especially from the year before, they were picking on us a lot in the pass game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were just getting, because we had all those injuries, we were just getting like picked apart. I think we were like the dead last in pass defense. We were just terrible. But yeah, I just feel I think we were playing. Sometimes I feel like we were playing a little bit scared, as far as like, not letting anything get over the top of us. I mean, I feel like sometimes we also have had Jamar Chase PTSD, as far as certain things. But like, this is just things we have to work on. These are things that, we will learn, we grow, and then we just go from there. I mean, that's the best way I can look at it, because we have to just look at the tape, be like, what did we do wrong here? How do we improve? How do we get better? And I think McDonald has been good at that. And I think, he doesn't have a one-track mindset. What I will say, though, is that Wink, because I know you brought him up before, like, as much as we, like, didn't like Wink's philosophies, I mean, I felt like, though, he kept us in a lot of those games.
Yeah.
Like, those games that we weren't supposed to win, especially, like, going back to that game against the Rams, against the Packers, because we played them both that year. We were like injury riddled like all year. Like, I mean, we were in those games defensively. I mean, offensively, of course, there's not much we could have did. But like, Wink I give credit to Wink because, he kept us in the games. But, McDonald, I feel as though he has a little more of a patient mindset. I mean, we don't see as many blitzes as we did with Wink, because we know Wink loves the blitz. He did it against us when we played last year.
Oh, yeah, don't even.
Yeah, I know that revenge game was so funny to me. But, like, yeah, I mean, like, we have to learn. We have to grow. We have to continue to grow as a defense, like, learning from these mistakes. And then, like, again, defensively, like we've been discussing, we weren't bad last year. So, the ceiling is just, we can only get better from there. So, I'm excited to see it.
If we just fine tune a couple areas like we talked about, the run defense, the pass rush, a little bit better, more consistent secondary play for the whole season as opposed to just the second half, this team could be something to reckon with, especially if we, put this with an improvement on offense too. It could be great. It could be something to do, or something to pay attention to.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. All right. Well, we're about to wrap up here, but before we go, Dom, and I'm going to do this as well. Do you have a prediction for the Ravens' first round pick happening on Thursday, assuming they don't trade, assuming they're at pick 22?
If the Ravens stay at pick 22, if there's no major trades that happen between now and the draft, my prediction is the Ravens go wide receiver with their first pick. And if they do get a receiver, I feel as though they will go for Zay Flowers or JSN. And that's just me. I feel as though if there's no major trades, I feel like they still go wide receiver with their first pick, and they try to rebuild that wide receiver room again.
That's fair. I'm really hoping they could, even though I said they probably won't, I'm still, like I said, I'm keeping the door open. They can make something work for Hopkins. And let's not get any wide receivers. Let's go cornerback. Let's get our number 2 guy. If I'm being realistic, I know Joey Porter probably won't be there because that guy I really, really want. Physical corner from Penn State. I know he's very, he's kind of smaller, but that's fine. I'm thinking we go Emmanuel Forbes Jr. Emmanuel Forbes Jr. out of Mississippi State. Yes, I understand he's only 166 pounds and he's only 6 foot. Not the biggest guy, but he's really good in man coverage, which is something we like to do. Play man, press, Marlon Humphrey, 2-man under. Got our 2 safeties back there. Which will be Marcus Williams, the ball hawk, and Kyle Hamilton. I'm liking this. He could play physical outside, maybe some slot as well. So then we could be a little bit more flexible with our younger corners like Brandon Stevens and, what's his name? Jalen Armour Davis or any of those other young Pepe Williams. Because we don't have too many DBs aside from Marlon. I say we go ahead, pick up a corner. Day 1 starter. Let's get Emmanuel Forbes. But if somehow Joey Porter falls to that far down, I don't think he will. He'll probably be picked around the teens, maybe 15th, 16th, or earlier. Then we get him obviously. But I'm picking Emmanuel Forbes. Another option could be Deonte Banks out of Maryland. I've been hearing about him a lot too. Another smaller guy, 6'0". He is built a little bit bigger, though. I think he's almost 200. But I don't really care about the size. Just cover somebody.
Play some defense.
I know people were a lot of people were concerned about, Emmanuel Forbes being only 166. I don't care. If you can cover and stick to somebody like glue, you're good for us. That's my pick.
All right.
On Thursday.
Absolutely. Let us know what you guys think. Yeah. Who are the Ravens going to give with the number 1 pick? Are they going to make a trade? Let us know in the comments below. We want to hear your thoughts. I mean, I think wide receiver, Gonz thinks corner. We don't know, man. We got a couple days for the draft. I'm excited. Let's see what we do, man.
And stay tuned for an announcement this week about something that we are going to be doing on Thursday. We will definitely be here to witness the Ravens draft pick live, and we will let you know how that goes. We'll keep you updated.
All righty. Looking forward to it. Thank you guys for tuning in again. Dom and Gonz Sports Talk. We'll check in next time.
Dom and Gonz out.